Hey guys, we've got some new stuff for you today in the terms of the hardware. Same software. The soap is remote learning from summer break. The brush is Declaration Grooming and Briar Brushworks handle, Declaration Grooming knot, B13, 28 millimeter. Briar Brushworks and Dogwood Handcrafts created the handle. Been soaking for a while, so his tips are nice and soft. You know, as a treated brush with, bleach kind of like solution, those tips do hold on to water. They do absorb water and need time to soak, in my opinion. The blade today, this is an example. It's slightly different from the blade you see in the razor. This is a Persona. Yep. Persona Super Stainless, and it's the hair shaper kind of blades. And these are available currently in beauty supply stores for barbers and beauticians to use in devices like this that resemble straight razors. And they are for probably edging and trimming, that sort of thing. Probably not used very often for shaving. Matter of fact, the guys who used this kind of system in August, throughout the month, they called it the Weckening, because that's the brand of this. This is the Weck Sextoblade, S-E-X-T-O blade. And they used, some of them said that they tried the Persona blades and they were quite lacking and rough. And that could be similar to this situation, with this being the Kismet blade in the razor now, and this with the Persona. It may be like the single edges, where almost universally people prefer the Gem PTFE single edge blades in those razors rather than some of the other variants out there. And so that may be the same with the Kismet. It just might be so much better than there are only a few other. There's From, F-R-O-M-M, and then there's Persona. And so the good news is the Persona are actively being made, and but the bad news is it seems like from the people I've heard about that it's definitely not preferred. I think I did read on Badger and Blade, the forum system over there, that there were some guys who did like the Persona just fine. So as with so many things shaving related, your mileage may vary, that sort of thing. The Greg was kind enough to send me this Weck. It resembles straight razor in terms of like the scales. It's kind of hollow there, and parts of it are solid. Down here where I think it was gimping, I think is what's called here, with the ridges and with the little curly Q, all that's pretty solid. It is, you can see layers like right here. And so it's from right here to right here, it seems like it's a solid internal chunk. And then you can see it's a sandwich style, where almost like a hot dog bun that's been folded over. And so that probably continues the whole way. And so that's why you see the lines right there. But from, this area to this area, it's substantial, provides a good feel. And then it starts to get hollow once you get toward the blade, because obviously the blade needs to sit somewhere. You normally can use your thumb to move the blade around, but Greg said that this one was kind of a little tighter than average. And so with the Persona blade right now, I just push this down on the counter to seat it back properly. So the Kismet blade is what's in here. It's a very, very firm edge. And who knows, this type of arrangement may be one of the better replaceable blade options in terms of resembling a true straight razor, right? One of the other options is an artist club, and I do have one of those on hand. This one's from Feather. Plastic handle, but all metal here. It's probably not stainless, it's probably alloy. This is you can see that it's separation there. It's kind of a clip. I can squeeze it, and that lets you put the blade in and out. This is the Artist Club size blade, the Mongoose razor, and there are the few, the Vector from Blackland, and there are other. Wolfman has created, I believe, a razor that uses the Artist Club size. These are available, you know, they're not vintage only. And when I'm storing this one, it's really convenient because what I do is I put it in backwards. That way the blade can't be dulled. But with this one, the blade actually seats pretty deep into the recess of the hand of the holder here, and you can see it's kind of thick as this part here it gets thick as it touches the blade, you know, for support, right? And maybe to help people to have the right angle. I don't know how much of that comes into play, you know, but obviously you do normal straight razor type motions with this. And I have used this a few times. It wasn't amazing, but I kind of like the fact that the Weck is different in that because you've got such a tall amount of thin blade, you can have a smaller blade angle. And I bet that is going to result in more comfort. It's very firm, very rigid. Like you saw, it has, like the single edges, like the gem style single edges, it has this folded over kind of spine support here. And so it's going to be very rigid. Several guys shaved with this for the entire month. Greg was able to take his comfortably the whole month. And so that gives you an idea about how long the edge will hold on and be good for you. I think there were some others that said theirs started to get uncomfortable, but they went ahead and completed it anyway. I don't know whether they were using the Kismet blade or if somebody had tried out like the Persona or the From blades. So I'm excited to try this for the first time today. I am not an experienced straight razor shaver, so don't pay attention to what I'm doing from that perspective. And anything I say about straight razors is gathered from other people who are experts. And I'm just parroting, I'm just relaying what I've heard good, reputable people say regarding that, because I don't really have my own information regarding straights. Why would you use this over a straight, a classic straight? Well, replaceable blades. Once a month, maybe even longer, you change this blade, throw it away. Might be able to get this blade for about $1.50. The Kismets online, Greg said they were still being actively made, he thinks, in Germany. And so that's good, because if you only have a vintage supply that gradually dwindles down, then, you know, eventually this kind of product would go out. But it's available through eBay, a couple dollars per blade in many cases, and then you can start shaving for the next month. So just buying 10 blades would probably last you a year, and that's not bad for the price there. With a straight razor, however, it could last you your entire life, but you have the added maintenance benefit, maintenance requirements, the cost of having stones to refresh your edge, always having to strop. Now, I kind of like stropping the blade because it's kind of therapeutic, and I really enjoy that part of it. And then once you do get your straight to a good edge, you don't need a whole section of a whole suite of 4 or 5 stones to restore that good edge. You just need maybe 1 or 2 to kind of polish it off and to make it, to refresh it is the word that the community uses, I believe. All right, well, enough talking. Let's get on with it. I did try to find a shavette to show you guys as well, since we were looking at the Artist Club versus the this particular kind of replaceable blade shaver. And they look similar to, they don't really have these kind of scales in many cases. Sometimes they have plastic. Now, there are some nice shavettes that have good looking scales, but many of them are plastic. And they hold the normal DE blade like this one. There are some that you can just use the whole blade, and it's got a big old chunky end on it. This end here, you know, this part of the blade up here, because it accommodates the entire blade. But that's rare. Usually you break them in half, or you can cut them with scissors this way, and then this way, and then you have the half blade that you then slip into the razor, you know, kind of like this. A lot of times they'll have, this will actually be two pieces, and they'll come apart so that you can lay the blade in the right way, and then they'll come back together, and there'll be maybe another cover that clamps everything together. You know, there's just different ways. But see, because it uses a very flexible, thin blade, it gives a whole different feel. And many just don't think it's worth it. A lot of people think you're going to give a good idea about a straight razor use by trying those kinds of shavettes, and it's just not true. All the good parts about a straight razor are not really present with shavettes. The feel of the edge, the control that you have, those just aren't there. And so it's just a different product. What's their benefit, you might say, if they don't have a lot of positives? Well, the benefit is this right here. These common DE blades that are so cheap. You can, if you make them last for a lot of shaves, then we're talking about fractions of a penny for each one. And so that is why they still exist on the market, is because people can, if you can make that work, then it's very inexpensive and very cheap. All right, and who knows? There probably, I think there are some better ones out there, better than others, you know. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention, this is the Weck Sextoblade. Like I said, there is another type arrangement like this that uses the same blade, and it's called the hair shaper, and it usually has a shorter handle by about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, something like that, based on the pictures I saw. And it doesn't look like a classic straight razor usually. It might even be a band of metal that flatly comes out, makes a turn, and then comes back. And so it's not as kind of a quality vintage looking thing as this is. This is longer, and it looks more like the vintage straight razor, and so that's why I was hoping to get a hold of one. Greg was so kind to send it to me. This is the grip that I'll be using. Put your thumb in the jimping there, and we'll be doing this. I don't think I'll ever do this particular grip. Some people actually, you know, do this kind of grip. I think I usually use this one. And in my straight razor journeys, I have adopted the policy of right hand for this side, switch the razor to the other hand for the other side. Some people choose to do the same hand the whole way, but I'm choosing to use different hands, at least for now. We're going to keep using the same soap that we have been using. It's got a little bit more residual moisture in there. Still not smelling the cheese of the Doritos, but the cinnamon is backing off a little bit, or my perception of cinnamon is backing off, and so it's smelling a little bit less like cookies than it did when it started out. Remote Learning from summer break. It's a wonderful base. It's his honor roll base. It's a very, gives you a very high quality lather that is still lightly creamy, even if you get it really well hydrated. At least for me, it is. So what are we going to do today? Yesterday, I took the brush very wet. This is a high density badger, which was what we're playing around with right now with the slurry lather. The tips on this particular one are very soft. Some of them are not as soft, and so that could yield different results. But for now, we're going to play around with this one. I had so much water in the soap yesterday that I think it inhibited the brush's ability to pull soap off of the puck. And so I had to, even going 40 swirls, I had to go back for another 10 swirls. And honestly, when it was so wet, if I would have kept going, I think it kind of would have been wasted time and not netted me very much. Matter of fact, you can kind of see some of the bubbles that dried from the creation last time. So let's do that same 40 swirls that we did yesterday, but I'm not gonna focus on the brush having as much water at the very start. Now with the boar brush that I used all last month, it holds water like a champ, even down here at the core. And so I don't think that's what happens with this badger knot. It just doesn't hold that much water because it's so dense. This one, not as dense. See, I can even squeeze it smaller than the diameter of the knot. And that density comes at a price. It means more tips on your face. And so in terms of comfort, face feel, that might be what you want, but more bristles equals less room for water. So I'm going to come at the soap here during the loading process with less water, but I'll add plenty, hopefully, in pass one or, something like that. Instead of coming at it with all the water in the beginning, like we have been able to with a boar brush and with a standard density badger brush. So that's the plan for today. Let's see what happens. So it does hold a good bit of water, but I think what I've discovered is most of that water is kind of on the tip end of things. All right, let's try that. Would I say lightly wet or just wet? Maybe just wet, not very wet would be my guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 20. That's 40. All right. I'm going to let kind of the excess. Yeah, see, I don't have nearly as much liquid in the tub like I did before. Just froth. Use that as a little bit of a pre-shave here. Clean up the tub. I am using a bowl in the sense that I'm resting my brush in a bowl when I don't have it in my hands. And so that theoretically could be a little bit of a water reservoir if I want to do that, right? Okay, so let's see what happens to my face when I take this to it. Does a slurry lather develop? Yeah, see, that is developing quicker than before. But will it be a slurry or will it be a kind of a light? Ah, look, we got some water coming out. Okay, nice. Still plenty of water. It's not anything dry or anything. And there we go. For a slurry lather, that's all we need. Still a good bit of water, so that's good to know. It still held enough water to be a slurry. And then, here we go. If you are new to a single-edged straight razor, or this kind of thing, or the shavette, if you're new to it, a great technique is to just shave your cheeks and then use a DE razor or something else that you're more familiar with to shave your neck. Because as you might expect, the neck is the hardest area. Skin pulling, skin tugging is more important with this. You don't see me do this with a straight razor. Now my glasses kind of give me a little bit of a problem here because I almost have to lift my glasses out of the way. And so I kind of have to do that part blind. I choose to start keeping the angle a very small angle. I do that with straights as well. Until I figure out what is best. And that went very nicely. Definitely didn't feel too sharp or anything like that. I know with a straight, I've had such a big difference in experience if I wasn't tugging, pulling my skin and holding my skin properly. Now it's not going smoothly, you can kind of hear. That's a little more smooth. Go super slow. At first, I've done that and I've been very happy with that because as you might guess, a wrong move can easily happen. Like maybe right there, I may have cut myself right there. We'll see if anything develops. You have to watch the corners of the blade and your angle and that sort of thing. Yeah, there's a tiny, that's just a little weeper. I thought it'd be a lot worse than that. That'll be fine. Oh, look, hey, got a little cut right there. That looks almost like I don't know how that one was created. Could watch the video back and maybe see. My skin feels a little on the dry side. Let's rinse. Haha, the one that I felt over here is weeping a little bit, but the one I didn't feel is actually the one that's kind of given the most trouble. So I do feel some irritation on my face. Ooh. Got some spots right there next to my goatee. Straight razor shavers have long preferred a, you know what, getting right up next to here, I probably had too sharp of an angle. My blade angle is probably not small enough, and so it's just maybe too aggressive of a pass. I'll probably just do 2 passes for obvious reasons. And I'm just going to do 2 with the grain passes. That's another thing I've heard about people doing when you're new. I'm not going to try an against the grain pass, and I'm just going to stick with the grain. I like to make smaller angle movements so that I can adjust smaller movements across my face, so that if I feel like I've gotten one wrong, I haven't gotten it wrong for a long stroke, right? I can make better, quicker adjustments. Oh yeah, look at that. I haven't been this cut up in a very, very long time. I am right-handed, and when I'm doing this with my left hand, my right hand really wants to jump in there and save the day. Light pressure, just enough to hold the edge on your skin, just like with DEs. Oh look, got another one right there. Is that a weeper or is that, yeah, that's a cut. Now I've got a mole right here. Now, never be too proud to go back over and rehydrate, relather an area. Oh yeah, right here is where I took a really weird angle. And here is a trouble spot with me, even with double-edged razors. The way the hair swirls around. The logic I'm taking with a small blade angle is if the angle is too small, then worst case you don't cut anything, and that's safe. But if your angle is just right, then you end up cutting properly. I think we can see from my face, there are definitely some improper things that happen during this shave. Let's feel around for stubble. Oh yeah, that's got some blood right there. And now you can see why there are some guys who opted out of the month of Weck shaving. What a stubble right there. One tip from one guy was to actually dull the corners here so that, you know, if your angle wasn't quite right or you headed over toward your ear too much, that the corner here wouldn't cut you. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. I think we're close enough. Definitely a proof of concept. It felt very firm, you know, and rigid, and that's what you do want. You know, you feel like you have good control over it. And so after that, it's just a matter of learning the angle and your face and that sort of thing. So about 30 days or more of this blade retaining a nice sharp edge seems to be what Greg was able to get. And I think some other guys echoed that same thing. We did 2 passes. So now we're done with the razor, but now let's think about the brush here, just in case I needed another pass of lather like I so often do. Yeah, I can still feel that slickness I have on my face. Let's see what's in the brush right now. Okay, I kind of feel like this needs some sprinkling of water to kind of wake up what's there. Let's just see what happens. You know, by the 3rd pass with the slurry lather, we often have a more mature lather. Now, did we pick up enough lather for 3 passes? Looks like we did. I'm going to put a little water in the bowl here, and I'm going to go at this with the brush. Let's see what happens. This will tell us if we had just enough lather or if we had an abundance of lather. With that 40 swirls after all. Yeah, see, I was able to make that into a cream. We've got a little bit in the bowl, and then definitely a whole face's worth in the brush. Let's show off how much we have there by a quick rinse. And then, oh, see, that's just tons. So that's 4 passes of lather, plus more in the brush, plus some more in the bowl. So that 40 swirls, that turned out to be plenty of soap for 3 passes of shaving. So that's good. That meant that the only change we might do when using a high density badger brush like this one with soft tips is don't come at the soap with tons of water. Back off a little bit on the water maybe, and you'll be fine. And I did have to add a little bit of water on the 3rd pass. And that's always something you should watch out for. Whether it's the soap base or a different brush or whatever, never hesitate to add a sprinkle of water in there to help things out. And that's a nice looking lather. That's really good looking. I can, you don't need it super thick and Santa Clausy, and it's really, really slick and lightly creamy. Got a luxury feel to it, that's for sure. All right, well, I have cut myself in all up to try this Weck razor. And thank you, Greg, for sending it to me. And he should have sent me some Band-Aids, right? But we'll definitely try it again, and we'll see if maybe, oh, you know what? I'll probably wait. Let's let these cuts heal up, and I'll use a DE next time just to make sure that, because then if let's say your technique improves with this type of shaver, but if you're opening old wounds that didn't quite have time to heal, then you don't know that your technique has improved. You don't know whether you're opening old ones or creating new ones, you know? So I'm going to give a break. I'll do probably a DE razor for that. So let us clean up, and I'm going to figure out what kind of splash or balm I want to use Yeah, see that weeper over here? He stopped. He's good. The weeper that was right here has stopped already. Oh yeah, right near my mouth. How's that doing? Those have already stopped. Maybe this guy's going super slow. So this guy right now looks like the only active one. Here we are after the shave. The little weeper right here continues. The little weeper right here. This guy continues to reduce, actually. He was doing more earlier, but everything else has stopped. In terms of comfort for my face, just for you new guys who are wondering, is it worth trying something new like this? Right now, I've just done cold water rinses between the passes and then after the shave, and I continue to find that so refreshing, especially in this situation where we've got a little bit of irritation going on for obvious reasons. That cool water, not cold, I don't have ice cubes anywhere, but just whatever comes out of the cold tap. And oh, it's just very soothing, refreshing. It reduces inflammation, that sort of thing. That's good. I continue to support that. Let's go with Prix de Provence number 63. The hard soap that they have, I don't necessarily think it's a great performer. However, it is economical, and that's its main benefit. But the scent on this number 63 is this kind of warm, smoky, woody, spicy, you know, kind of a thing. And I really, really like it. After you get cut up a little bit, you should think about an aftershave product that has antiseptic qualities. Obviously, and for many years, men have used an alcohol splash, alcohol-based splash like this. Sterling's has denatured alcohol, big-time antiseptic, germ-killing properties, of course. But it also has witch hazel, aloe, and glycerin, and those are helpful to your skin instead of just alcohol. You know, Barrister and Mann with his splash does something very similar. It's got some good skin food items in there. And so you can choose something that's very splashy to be the antiseptic, but then that kind of thing is not usually very soothing. And so that's why a balm or a lotion can come in handy. And Sterling's, for instance, has witch hazel in it and aloe, and those are very good. Witch hazel has some antiseptic properties as well as alcohol does. So that's a couple different ways you can go. This Aloe Aquavelva 5-in-1, mineral oil, water, glycerin are the first ingredients. So I don't know what it has in there in the way of an antiseptic kind of thing. But if you could definitely use like an alcohol splash right before. I prefer a splash before a lotion or balm if you're going to do both. Because if the splash is done after, I think it kind of negates and washes away the balm. But of course, you can try it both ways and pick the one you think you like best. Oh, the scent on this 63 is just tremendous. Oh, that's just so good. I want to get this as a cologne, I think. I need to put that on I think that's already on my list. Well, there we go. That's today's shave. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and thank you so much for joining me. I think we've finally gotten some good success and a fairly easy method with the high density badger and the slurry method. We'll keep playing around with other things, probably a synthetic like this one for the next shave. Take care now. Good night.